8.4, 8.5, 8.6 are all taught the same way, where it's all converting from one unit to the other. 8.4 is linear measurement, meaning we're measuring length. 8.5 is weight and mass, meaning we're measuring how much things weigh. And then 8.6 is capacity, so we're measuring volume, like cups and gallons and liters, all right? So what I did was I went through and tried to kind of do it in a better order without scaring you too quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through 8.4, 8.5, 8.6, we're going to flip back and forth a lot, where we'll do the easiest problems first of each, and then we'll go look at the metric system, which is centimeters and meters of each. And then we'll go back and do kind of the more complicated stuff, all right? So these conversion facts do not need to be memorized. These will be used on the test. They'll be used on the final. You'll have a sheet exactly like this. You won't be able to use yours just for purposes of cheating. We have to give you a new one, which means you can write all over this one if you want. That's fine, okay? So I'm going to kind of go in a weird order, but as long as you're paying attention, you should be fine. So the first one we're going to do is we want to know if we had 48 inches. So my daughter, we're going to Disney World in May, and she's 5, and she's really tall, and she is 48 inches, right? So the question is, can she ride a ride if it's in feet? How do we know if she's going to meet that requirement or not? So what you do is you start with what you're given, 48 inches, and what we're going to do is we're going to be multiplying. It's called a unit fraction. Unit fractions are based on these conversions, but what goes on top or bottom depends on what you start with, okay? So 48 inches is what we start with, so we want it on bottom because we want to cross those inches off, right? Because remember, from our fractions, top and bottoms cancel out, right? And what do we want to remain? Feet. So you go to your conversion and you see if you have a conversion between inches and feet, and you do. There's 12 inches in 1 foot, okay? So wherever you see inches, you'll put the 12. Wherever you see the foot, you'll put the 1. And they can be, they flip-flop depending on what you start with. So we'll have 1 foot equals 12 inches. When you have this, think about it, and I'm going to kind of hypothetically do it. What we're doing is we're multiplying straight across the top, straight across the bottom. Well, this is just 48 times 1, which is just 48, and then we're dividing by 12. So a rule of thumb is whenever your conversion factor's on the bottom, you're just dividing. So what's 48 divided by 12? 4. So if the ride says 4 feet, Hazel can ride it. And I think that is a lot of the ride, so she's going to be good to go. My poor little 2-year-old's going to be crying, though, because she won't be able to go on a lot of them. All right, so we're going to do the same thing, miles to feet, which this is kind of amazing. Did you guys ever have to run the mile in gym class? Yeah. It was god-awful. Yeah. God-awful, right? So imagine running 3 miles like those cross-country people have to do. So really, how many feet of distance are they covering? So we start the same way, guys. We start with miles, and we're going to multiply it by unit conversion, okay? What do we want to get rid of? Miles, so he needs to go on bottom. What do we want to change to? Feet, so he's going to go on top. And then, again, since we're measuring length, we're going to go to the length, and notice that 1 mile is over 5,200 feet, okay? Since it's with feet, the 5,280 is going to go wherever we put feet, so we actually have feet on top. So where's the 5,280 going to go? Up top, and that equals 1 mile. Is that okay so far? And then when you have your unit conversion on top, we're just multiplying straight across the top and dividing by 1. Well, dividing by 1 is doing nothing, okay? So when your conversion factor's on top, you just multiply straight across the top. So if 1 mile is over 5,200 feet, how much are we covering if we run 3 miles? What is it? 15,840 feet. Gross. All right, so what we're going to do, if you're okay with those two, we're going to flip to the back of this page and do the exact same ideas. But now instead of, these are called U.S. measurements, guys. It's us. We measure in feet and inches and centimeters. No, not centimeters. When you go to English, that's when they measure in meters, centimeters, kilometers. Jamaica, are you kilometers or miles?
Miles.
Miles. Okay, so you're the English measurement. Or the U.S., I should say. All right. So on this page, on the back of this page, we're going to do B and C, where it's the exact same idea. We're still measuring distance. It's just that instead of we're using U.S. measurements like feet and inches, we're using English measurements, the metric system, okay? So start with what you're given. The M means meters, all right? So we want to know how many kilometers 600 meters are. So meters go on the bottom, kilometers go on top. Is that okay so far? And then since we're in the metric system, we're going to go to the middle where it says metric, and then this is where all of our measurements are, okay? So we know 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. Do you see that? 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. So 1,000 meters is to 1 kilometer. Do you see why the 1,000 goes on the bottom? It goes with the meters. And again, when it's ever on the bottom, you're really just dividing, because it's 600 times 1 divided by 1,000. So what's 600 divided by 1,000? What do you guys get? 0.6 what? Kilometers. All right. If you have a meter stick and you have something that's 9.1 meter sticks, how many centimeters would that be? You start with 9.1 meters times, we want to get rid of meters, so he's going to go on the bottom, and we want to change to centimeters, he's going to go on top. Centi is based off of 100, like how many years are in a century? 100. So if you look at your conversion facts, there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. And again, I'm putting that with the centimeter because that's who it was with. So we're just going to multiply straight across the top, and what do you guys get when you do that? 910. Is that okay for that page? All right. So if you're okay with that, let's flip to 8.5, where we're going to do the exact same conversions, but now we're measuring weight. So we typically measure in ounces and pounds, and then we might be I can't talk. Then there's also grams and kilograms. So it's kind of the same idea where we have English versus US. All right, so let's do B. If we have something that weighs 6,600 pounds, and we want to know how many tons it is, we'll put pounds on the bottom, ton up top. And you just look at your conversion. What's the conversion between pounds and tons? Well, now that we're dealing with weight, we're going to look under the weight thing, okay? A pound is labeled LB, and 2,000 pounds is 1 ton. So where am I going to put the 2,000, on top or bottom? It's going to be on the bottom because it's 2,000 pounds is 1 ton, right? When it's on bottom, are you multiplying or dividing? Dividing. So go ahead and throw that in your calculator. 6,600 divided by 2,000. I need to get my answer keys out, right? Do you get 3.3? Does that look right? 3.3 what? Tons. All right. Let's look at D. This is something that's like kind of interesting. When we're born with pounds and ounces, and as a math teacher, I always get mad when like somebody is 8 pounds, 8 ounces, and they put 8.8 pounds, because it's not true. 8 pounds, 8 ounces is actually 8.5 pounds, just like minutes, right? Like an hour and a half is 1 hour, 30 minutes. It's kind of the same idea. So if we have 5.8 pounds, how many ounces is that little baby? Well, we're going to put pound on the bottom, ounces on top. What's the conversion between pounds and ounces? 16. Is 16 going to go on the top or the bottom? On top, because it's 16 ounces to 1 pound. So you just put 16 on top, 1 on the bottom, and when it's on top, are you multiplying or dividing? You're just going to multiply, so straight across. So how many ounces is this little baby? 92.8 ounces. Is that okay? Are there any questions there? All right, so if you're okay with that, flip to the back of 8.5. So technically it's page 4, where we're going to do the exact same thing. We're still converting weight, but it's in the metric system with grams, kilograms, centimeters. And what's nice, like they make fun of us as U.S. people because inches, miles, feet, none of it's cohesive. But when you go from metric system, kilo always means 1,000, centi always means 100. So it doesn't matter whether it's liters, meters, or grams. It's all the same unit conversion, and that's what's nice. And that's why they make fun of us, because ours is a little bit more difficult. So let's look at A. If you have 34, this gets really big. So kilograms are big. So if you have 34 kilograms, and you want to know how many grams that is, that's going to be a lot of grams, okay? So we want to get rid of kilograms, so he goes on the bottom, grams goes on top. And like I said, kilo means 1,000. So there's 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. So where's the 1,000 going to go, on top or bottom? On top, okay? So we have 1,000 grams to 1 kilogram. So we're just going to do what? Multiply or divide? Multiply. So we're going to multiply 34 times 1,000, and what do you guys get? 34,000 kilograms. Is that okay? Now the other direction, oh, grams, yes, I'm getting all excited, and that would be a lot of grams. Oh my gosh. Where'd that go? That would be so many. Thank you, guys. I even marked out my kilograms, and they still appeared. So milli is actually the same thing. It's 1,000, but it's the other direction. It's actually smaller. So there's 1,000 milligrams in 1 gram. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with milligrams. 1,035 milligrams. We want to get rid of him, so he goes on the bottom. And grams goes on top. And when you look at the conversion, like I said, it's 1,000 milligrams to 1 gram, so is the 1,000 going to go on top or bottom? Bottom this time, right? So there's 1,000 milligrams to 1 gram. Are we going to multiply or are we going to divide? Divide, because he's on the bottom. So what's 1,035 divided by 1,000? I think is it 1.035? Yeah. Does that look okay? All right. So that's what we do for weight. Let's go ahead, if you're okay with that, flip to 8.6 capacity. Capacity is volume, how much things can hold. So we typically talk about, like, does anybody bake? What? You're talking about baking cookies, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, you usually measure in, like, cups, or if you guys drink soda, we have liters or 2 liters of soda. That's the English measurement of capacity, but then, or gallon of milk, right? But the metric system, or the, or I should say that's a U.S. Gosh, I think English, but it's the U.S. And then English is a metric, and its capacity is liters, okay? So let's look at what's going on here. We're going to do C first. 6.5 quarts. What do you think I need to do to that 6.5? Convert it to an improper, right? So keep this in mind, because if you guys haven't worked on 8.3 homework yet, this is what you'll have to do in 8.3 homework. Some of the measurements will be given as fractions. So what you'll do is you'll multiply 2 times 6 to get 12, 12 plus 1 to get 13. So this is really 13 over 2 quarts. Is that all right? So we want to get rid of quarts, so he's going to go on the bottom and pint's going to go on top. And now we're dealing with capacity. So you're going to look here where it says capacity. And what do we know? We know 1 quart equals 2 pints. So where's the 2 going to go? On top with pints. You guys see why things are going? So 2 pints equal 1 quart. All right? Are we going to multiply or divide? Multiply. So in your calculator, just take 13 over 2 times 2. You should get 13. Right? Because that 2 on bottom should cancel out with that 2 on top. And the quarts cancel out. So what did we decide? This is 13 pints. All right. I also want to do D. If you have a quart of milk, like if we have 26 quarts of milk, but we want to kind of downsize and put them into gallons, how many gallons would that be? Well, think quarters. How many quarters are in $1? 4. So how many quarts are in a gallon? 4. So we'll start with 26 quarts, and we'll multiply. Quart will be on the bottom, gallon will be on the top, and it's 4 quarts to 1 gallon, correct? So the 4 will go on the bottom. Is that okay? Are you finding where we are? Yeah. Are you okay? Were you okay until we got to capacity, 8.6? Yeah. Okay. So you want me to go back to C? Okay, so on C, are you okay that the first thing we want to do is we want to change that to an improper fraction because we never really want to deal with mixed numbers. And the quart's there, so we want to get rid of him so he goes to the bottom. And the hardest part is finding the conversions on the sheet. But anytime it's like U.S. measurements, quarts, pints, gallons, we're going to be up top, okay? So right here, notice that we have quarts kind of a couple times, like 4 quarts there. We want this one that has quarts and pints together. Well, that's why. Yes. Okay, so keep that in mind when we flip the page. So any U.S. stuff, guys, will be this like upper third, and any of the metric stuff, the English stuff, will be this middle third. Okay? So then this is where I got 4 quarts or 1 gallon, that same area. Is that okay now? Well, that will help you. All right, so when you do this, guys, how many gallons do we end up getting? 6.5 or 6.5 gallons? Which would definitely be a downsize as far as plastic and whatever you're using, because 26 versus 6.5 is a lot easier. All right, if you're okay with that, flip it to the back, and Mariah, that's where we're using those other capacities here, okay, where we're going to be looking at liters, kiloliters, milliliters, and so forth. So on these, again, start with what you're given. So it's the back of 8.6. Start with what you're given. And then see, what one am I wanting to do? Did everybody grab that one? Is that okay to flip it? Mm-hmm. We're going to do Actually, I didn't even do it because I figured at this point you're okay. Is that okay? Okay. Because those are just like the basic, okay. I have a little like code system here in what order I'm doing my problems. So we're all done with the pencil ones. Yes?
I have a question.
Yes.
Will you tell me what the answer for D is on the front page?
On the very front page or the front page of 8.6?
The very, very front.
The very front page, D is, drum roll, 10/3 a yard or 3.3 repeating yards. You got it? Okay. All right, guys, if we're okay with just kind of the strict conversions, let's go ahead and flip back to the front, okay? So we're going to flip to 8.4, and now I'm going to do D. Isn't that funny? So now you can check it. So this is something where, like, as a teacher, I just know we don't have a unit conversion from inches to yards, but say you don't realize that, you would start the same, where you're like, okay, I want 120 inches. Is anybody writing in pen? If you're writing in pen, don't write this yet, okay? So you have 120 inches times your unit conversion, right? You want inches, and then you want yards. And you go and look in length, and you have inches to a foot, but that's it. How do you get to a yard? You need to know how many feet. So who's our middleman? Feet. So what we have to do is we're like, well, shoot, we can't go directly from inches to yards. But guess what we can do? We can just do our middleman, okay? So we're going to actually follow this. We're going to say, okay, we can go from inches to a foot, and once we know how many feet we have, we can see how many yards we have, okay? So don't think you're wrong if you have to go back and erase it, because I even do that. I'm like, okay, inches, I want yards, and then I'm like, because I'm not familiar with the quarts, pints, all those conversions, so I'll start this way, and I'm like, oh, backtrack, I got to change to cups first, and then pint, you know what I mean? So don't feel like you have to jump right to it. So we can't go to yards, so we're going to go to feet first. And we already know the conversion for feet, don't we? Because we did it right over here. There's 12 inches to 1 foot. Is that okay? What are we going to do since the 12's on the bottom? Divide. So how many total feet do we have if we have 120 inches? 10. Is that okay? So we'll have 10 foot or 10 feet, and you're like, oh, I want to put that into my math lab. And my math lab will get mad at you because they're like, where did feet come from? I want you to change to yards. So that's just our new starting point. That's our new springboard, okay? Act like this was the first question. How many yards are in 10 feet? So what we're going to do is we're just going to do the exact same thing we just did above. But we're going to go to yards now. So who's going to go on the bottom since I want to get rid of feet? Feet. Who's going to go on the top since I want to change to yards? Yards. And how many feet are in a yard? 3. And you put 1 there. And since it's on the bottom, what are we going to do? Divide. So this is where my math lab, I think you're already finding, if you've been working on 8.3, that he's kind of picky. On the test, I'd probably just say round to the nearest hundredth, right? So if you do 10 divided by 3, it's 3.33, right? My math lab, though, say might give it as exact. What's the exact? 10 over 3. It doesn't reduce any, okay? So this is 10 over 3 yards, the exact answer, or 3.3 repeat. It's repeating, isn't it? Yeah. 3.3 yards. So I'm going to put either or there so you know. And look at you, Michaela. You did that without that. Okay? And like I said, start off the same, and if you have to backtrack and erase and say, crap, I can't go straight to yards, that's okay. Cross out yards or erase yards and put your middleman in there, okay? I will not give you one on the test that's more than 1 middleman. Does that make sense? Like, because there's some, if you look at like, you can go from ounces to cups to pints to quarts to gallons. There's like a lot. I won't do that. I'll have 1 middleman, if that, okay? So let's go ahead on the back. Do the same thing with 4A. 4A, okay? So what are we starting with? Millimeters. So we'll do 40 millimeters. And what are we going to? Millimeters. And maybe before you put centimeters, just because you want to be cautious and you're writing in pen, you go here and you say, okay, here's millimeters, but I can only go from millimeters to meters. How do I need to get to centimeters? My middleman is who? Meters, okay? A lot of time in metric system, your normal, your meters, your liters, your grams are your middleman. And then you can go anywhere from there, okay? Notice you have like meters on all of these, all right? So we're going to go to a meter first. All right, we're going to go to a meter first. He's our middleman. So how many millimeters are in 1 meter? 1,000. 1,000, okay? So we're going all the way to the bottom. There's 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter. So where's the 1,000 go? Bottom. And so at first he changes to kind of a smaller number and you get nervous, but that's okay because we usually turn around and go back and multiply by something, okay? So what do you guys get when you take 40 divided by 1,000? 0.04 meters, right? But is that what you said? I don't have my answer key in front. Is that okay? That's all right. Looks good. So then you're like, well, is that what I wanted? No. What do I want? Centimeters. So act like this was the original problem. How many meters are there in a centimeter? You just go look on here, and we know centi means 100, so there's 100 centimeters to 1 meter. So you just do a second conversion. And honestly, if we had room, you could go straight across. You could have like the conversion right behind it if you wanted, okay? So we had 1 meter is 100 centimeters. Does that end up being 4 exactly?
Yes.
Okay, so 4 centimeters is what we get. All right, so like I said, just start like normal, and if you have to backtrack and be like, okay, there's not a direct route, who will get me there? In the metric system, meters, liters, and grams are all your middleman. In the US system, it's not that easy. All right, if there's no questions on that, go ahead and flip to the, what number do I want to look at? I think I have us do a couple. The back of 8.5, where we kind of have the metric stuff, okay? See, we hardly talk about it. We talk about centimeters a lot, but you rarely talk about centigrams, okay? But they want to convert centigrams to kilograms, okay? So we're looking at page 4E. So we're going to start with 4,910 centigrams, and we're going to go from centigrams, and we want to put kilograms up there, right? We want to put kilograms up there. But again, if you go here to the middle, centigrams is only converted to grams. So who's our middleman? Grams. G. You got it, okay? So we're actually going to go to grams first, and then we'll jump to kilograms. So remember, grams, liters, meters are all your middleman. So there's 100 centigrams in 1 gram. So we're just going to take 4,910 and divide by 100. And what do you guys get? 49.1, is that right?
Yeah.
Grams, all right? But that wasn't the question, right? So what do we still need to do to grams? Who do we need to change them to? Kilograms, right? So the grams will go on bottom, the kilograms will go on top, and then let's go look at the conversion for that. Is it 1,000 grams to 1 kilo? Does that look right? So what do you end up doing? Dividing, right? Because he's on the bottom. What do you guys get for that answer? 0.0491? Is that right? 0.0491. Is that okay? All right, if you're okay with that, let's see. I have it all like flipped over. I wonder if I have any more for you. I have one more. You want one more, or are you okay? One more of these little middleman ones? Okay. If you're okay with that, flip to the back of the last page. So the back of 8.6, guys, where we're talking about capacity, but it's deciliters to milliliters. Deciliters to milliliters, we don't have it, right? But who's our middleman? Liters. So it's kind of like I said, the metric system, meters, grams, and liters are always your middleman. So we're going to go from 0.039 deciliters to a liter first. We're going to go from 0.039 to a liter first. So like if your original equation has a liter, you're good to go, right? So this has a liter, that has a liter. I don't have those middlemen. But if you have two things that don't have the liter, the gram, you're probably going to have a middleman in there, okay? So we have, is it 10?
Yeah.
Okay, so 10 deciliters to 1 liter. Since he's on the bottom, what are we going to do? Divide. So that's going to be 0.00391 liters. Is that okay? But did I want liters? So what do I still need to do? I need to change them to milliliters, but I can do that. Is everybody okay so far, where the 10 came from? So we'll just do one more conversion where the liter will be on the bottom and we'll change to the milliliter on top, and we'll just go to our conversion sheet. How many milliliters are in a liter? 1,000. Where's he going to go? On top. So we end up doing what operation? Multiplying. You got it. So if that is that 3.91 liters? Why might I have a 1 out of nowhere? Is that why you guys are questioning that? I think I saw I don't know what I saw. 3.9, is that okay? I invented a number in there. I don't know what I saw. It's you stuff that you make fun of your parents for. You get it. Don't do it, guys. Mom, where'd you see that? Come on. Okay, are there any questions on the middleman ones? And like I said, you can kind of quickly, you'll start seeing, he's not going to have a middleman because he has a leader, he has a leader, he has a leader, he has a leader, he has a leader. Leader, if you look at this, has a conversion to everything, right? So that's kind of something to keep your eye out for. All right, the next one we're going to do is when they don't go in evenly or they're not okay with a decimal answer like 0.5, they want it feet and inches, all right? So we're going to go back to the main page, 8.4. And we're going to do these first two that we had tried on Tuesday, okay? So we're going to do our normal conversion, 89 inches times inches, and we want to go to feet and inches, but the fact they have feet and inches, I know I'm going to have something kind of weird happening, okay? But I want to start with my same unit conversion. What is the unit conversion between feet and inches? 12 inches in a foot. So 12 will go on bottom, 1 will go on top. So, since it's on the bottom, what operation am I technically doing? Nope, because it's on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
So I'm doing what?
Dividing.
Dividing. So you put 89 divided by 12 in your calculator, and what happens? You get a decimal. You're like, okay, they don't want a decimal. They want it in feet and inches. So hit math frac. Hit math frac on your calculator. You have 89 over 7? Do you get 89 over 7? What do you get?
89 over 12.
Yeah, I got 8.
Or what? What the heck? Okay, sorry. It goes to 7 is what it was, 7 point something, right? That's where it's coming from. So it does not reduce. So that's what we're going to start with. We have 89 over 12 feet, right? But my math lab doesn't want that. So what we have to do is long division. How many times does 12 go into 89 evenly? We already know. What was it, 7, right? So over here, we're just going to do long division. The remainder will just be our inches, all right? So how many times did 12 go into 89? 7. And what's great now, guys, is you get to use your calculator. What's 12 times 7? 84. So what's our remainder? 5. And that answer right there is actually your answer. 12, if we had 89 inches total, we could have 7 even rulers in it, right? So it goes in 7 feet total with 5 inches remaining, okay? So when we divide by our unit with long division, your remainder is that little chunk. How many times did 12 go into 89? It went in evenly 7 times. So we have 7 feet for sure, right? Mm-hmm. But then there's a remainder of 5 inches. Is that okay? So start off the same, but if they are giving it to you like this, you know they're not going to accept a decimal. So that's when you need to do long division, all right? This next one's kind of the opposite that I think I was kind of getting some of you guys to understand at the end of class on Tuesday, where if I'm 5'10", how many inches am I? Well, you know I have the 10 inches for sure, but how many inches is that 5 feet? So we need to convert that first and then add it to my 10 inches. So this is the same idea. They want to know how many inches I have, but there's not a conversion between yards and inches, right? What was the middleman? Feet. So we need to figure out how many total feet we have. Do you guys agree that we have 2 feet for sure? Okay. But then we have a bunch of feet hidden in our yards, correct? So let's figure out how many feet are in 4 yards. So we'll do 4 yards, and we're going to see how many feet we have. Is that okay? And you guys, you don't mean to, but you're going to start getting pretty familiar with the conversions. Originally you might not have known that 3 yards or 3 feet are in a yard, but now you do, kind of idea, okay? So we have 3 feet in 1 yard. Is everyone okay with that? So that ends up being how many total feet? 12 feet. But is that how many feet we want to convert to inches? No. Who can we not forget about? The 2, right? Because we had 4 yards, which is 12 feet by itself, but then we had another 2 feet. So how many feet do we really have? 14. And that's what we'll convert to inches, okay? So we're going to add our 2 feet. So we're going to kind of go like this. Come over here, guy. We need you, okay? So we really want to convert 14 feet.